Good morning, everyone. Week 35, PB Sports Talk Show. Apologies all around for last week, which was supposed to be week 35, had a power surge and it was blinking in and out, and it was just too unstable to go ahead with the show. So, apologies for that. So, we're back. We didn't skip a week and make it week 36. It's still week 35. So, full show for you today. Let me pull up the graphic here. One moment. I apologize. See if I can get it up here. We're going to discuss lots of things. Knicks and Pacers tonight. You see in the background right here is Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Knicks and Pacers. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the WNBA, and I think they might just be blowing this whole thing. We'll talk about the top five, or I have five up there, but the most influential personnel or persons in the state of Michigan, Detroit. There's several to choose from there. However, I'm only going to pick one. Top five teams to watch in the NFL. And then I'll probably throw in five teams that just, holy cow, just can't figure it out. Podcast collaboration. We're going to be taking this to a new level, looking for different podcasters, people in the sports space around the country, reporters, journalists, other podcasters. Even if you're not a podcaster, you're not a journalist, you have an interesting story, we're going to talk about that, not just on the local level, but we're going to try to do this on the national level as well. So looking forward to that. A lot of great new people, well-known names around the country, former players now following me. We'll work at it to see if we can bring you some great content with that. So PB for three is something I like to start with each week. And this one might be a few more minutes than three. BB is me, the show, and then 3 minutes of a hot, hard-hitting topic. So Myles Garrett, let me start there. All right. I really, truly do not understand this as a longtime former coach. Culture, uh, team, everybody all in means more than anything. I know OTAs are voluntary. I know you don't have to be there. No one is saying he has to be there for sure. All right. Missed the OTAs because he was in Tokyo, either on a date and or looking for a place. And to make matters worse, he's all over social media while his team that he's supposed to be the leader of is introducing new players to the field, is trying to get out of their own way, and I'll touch on that in a moment. And he's tweeting and posting on social media about, hey, can anybody help me find a house? I need to find some peeps in Tokyo. I mean, you can't even make it up. The Cleveland Browns, some of the greatest fans in the world, deserve better than this. As a lifelong Detroiter, Michigan, 52 and a half years of my life, recently relocated to Florida full time. I can tell you from experience how things get done really, really bad, and then what it feels like to get them really, really good with what the Lions are doing right now, all the way from the top, all the way to the bottom. The Cleveland Browns franchise is a total disaster. And your captain, who you just paid $205 million over 4 years, right? Basically $50 million a year is over in Tokyo while you're doing OTAs. If you weren't going to be at OTA, stay silent, stay out of the spotlight. Don't bring any unnecessary attention to a franchise that has nothing but negative, negative, negative. This is really simple stuff. I mean, that's just not a captain. He wears the C, and it's like, man, you should be there. And if you're not, stay the hell out of sight. It's really, really simple. Stefan Diggs, man, you want to play or do you want to play? Because there's two different types of play. Cardi B courtside, you're on a boat with a bunch of girls, you're being filmed, you know you're being filmed, and you're passing around a pink powdery substance, and they're begging you for it, and you hand it to them, and you say, don't use it all, go have fun, and bring it back. The New England Patriots, one of the proudest franchises in history, right, have had a really difficult 2 years. Mike Vrabel comes in, Patriot guy, let's get this fixed up, former head coach, successful in certain aspects of his coaching career in Tennessee. All right, let's get this figured out. It's here's how it's going to be. Bang, bang, bang. And you heard the reports and you saw some of the things. We know Mike Vrabel, how he runs things, and you got basically a 32-year-old guy, about to be 32, is playing on a boat again while his team's at OTAs, sidelines, front row. You're with Cardi B. You know all attention's going to be on you. Most people wouldn't know Stefon Diggs at a basketball game that is not in his home state, but people know who Cardi B is. So you bring all the attention on you, and then the boat incident, and it's like if I'm Mike Vrabel and I'm the Kraft family and the Patriots organization, you cut him right now. You don't even wait. It should have already been done. They're looking into it. They're going to stay private about it. It's an internal matter. It's really not an internal matter. Stefon Diggs made it external. I'm not saying cut Myles Garrett. The degree to which Myles Garrett did something that it's not illegal what he did. It looks like, and you got to investigate it further, and you got to see what that really is, and if it's a hoax or not, and really bad taste, or if it's just poor bad judgment and dudes passing around something that's illegal. I mean, just the mere appearance of it, you got to cut him. He's supposed to be a veteran. He's supposed to be Drake May's security blanket. He's supposed to come in with all this experience, and he does this dumb shit. It's like just cut him and move on. It's not worth it. It's going to be cameras everywhere. It's going to be questions everywhere. It's going to be everything but what football is supposed to be. Everyone has the right to date who they want, marry who they want, etc. But if he stays with Cardi B, on top of all of that, it's going to be a circus, an absolute circus that will be led in. It will be led in the media at the forefront. Questions, questions, questions. You can't have it around. You're a young quarterback. Be a veteran wide receiver. You're rebuilding the Patriots. You're trying to bring them back to credibility or a credible franchise, a good credible product on the field, and you acquire this guy after being blown out knee out for a year, and he does this. It's stupidity at the highest level in both cases. All right, Knicks and Pacers. So you see Indiana's arena in the background, and that place is going to be hopping tonight. I'm not an Indiana fan. I'm a sports fan. I'm a longtime basketball coach, so I obviously take an interest in this through a coach's lens. We're at game 6 tonight. Most people thought that Indiana was going to win the other night and close it out, even though it was at Madison Square Garden. We're going to close it out. Tyrese Halliburton, right? He's come to the forefront, and I'm on record saying very loudly that Tyrese Halliburton, despite what you say, Dan Dockich, is not a superstar. There are stars, and then there are superstars. And the delineation between the two is subjective, right? It's based on what criteria are you going to grade the player on. What I would say to you is Jalen Brunson is a superstar. This guy comes up big in every moment, and he's generally, most of the time, the smallest guy on the floor, but plays the biggest on the floor. Now, Tyrese Halliburton, 6'6", wildly talented, lots of skill. In game 4, 32, 12, and 11. It was a triple-double. Forgive me if I'm a little bit off on the points and rebounds, but I think it was 32 points. Lights out, doing everything the right way, and then he just completely vanishes. And this is basically who he is. And he's been this way. Now, he's better now than he was, say, 2 years ago. But if we're going to have the conversation about him being a superstar, you have to do it night in and night out. And you can never, ever, ever take a game off if you want to have that classification. You might have an off game, but there's a difference in having an off game and taking a game off. Any sports player and at any level will tell you that. Dude likes to coast, and if things aren't going his way, he mentally checks out. He is not an absolute, what I would call a sports killer in that way. And I mean that in the sports context, where he's just got to have it. The Michael, the Kobe, the Birds, the guys who had it in them to just end it. That series and that game should have been ended. Now, all the pressure is on Indiana, and there is zero pressure on the Knicks. And where were you, Tyrese Halliburton, during this? Because you knew if you lost that game, even though you're going back home and you're favored to win, anything can happen. There could be fouls, there can be poor shooting, somebody can blow up from the other team. And we both know that Brunson and Towns have that ability. Tom Thibodeau, who I still think, he's still getting heat, but I still think Tom Thibodeau is one of the most underrated coaches, maybe ever. And it didn't work out the first two spots where he was, but you see what he did and the changes that he made in the last two games, I think it was, and you see the effect of it. The first three games of the series was 3-5-6. Game was decided by 3-5-6. The last two, 9 when the Pacers won and 17 when the Knicks blew them out the other night. I think that the Knicks might shock the world tonight. I have a feeling because I do not believe that the Pacers, while they have waves of players, are extremely athletic, love to get up and down the floor. Rick Carlisle is a terrific coach. Do you feel comfortable, Pacer fan? Do you feel comfortable, NBA fan, with Tyrese Halliburton in this moment tonight at home? Guys, I got you. You're on my shoulders. Hop on my back, and we're going to the finals. And OKC's here we come. You feel comfortable with that? I don't. Now, he might do what he did in game 4 again. That's very possible that that can happen. He has that ability, but will it show up? Will he show up? Or all of this and his other thing that he did that the league warned him, and what his father did, you see a lot of that stuff there. And it's like, is that in his head somewhere? Because it just doesn't have the killer mentality in the sports sense, and that you dispose of somebody when you have them on the ropes, and that's the hardest game to win. Everybody knows this. Anyone who follows sports knows elimination game. It doesn't matter hockey, basketball, football. It doesn't matter what it is. To put a professional team who has pride and is giving it all to win, it's hard to end their season. Just period. So it's already hard. So so why would you conduct yourself in any kind of way to give the other team uh ammunition, billboard material? That name that word isn't used as much anymore. But if you think it doesn't exist and you think it's not in players' heads, you're fooling yourself. The whole choking thing, the whole thing that he did at center court, that stuff that lingers. That's about the same as planting a flag at the 50-yard line in football. So don't sleep on the Knicks tonight. Brunson can go for 40. Towns can go for 30, and Mitchell Robinson has been an active, guy can't shoot free throws. I don't want to say poor guy. As a 5-time free throw champion myself, it's mental. Okay, there's technique there, but most of it is mental, and most of it is confidence at the pro level. I don't care how big your hands are. I don't care if you're double jointed or not. That should be all right. I'm not going to go down there, but he's been effective. He brings energy, terrific rebounder. The lob is there with him. He's spelling Towns a lot, and it's working. Same thing with Hart on the bench, helps a lot. And now you got Landry Shamet uh, playing some quality minutes, bringing energy. And this is Thibodeau here. These guys were there. It's not that they're not there. It's like you start to see some things, and then, hey, I got to tweak this because it's not working. And then you bring the guys in and you see them deliver. Well, then you're going to go with it. You're going to go with what works. And Hart is that guy. He's really an interesting player. At 6'4", how he can rebound the ball against Towers is really amazing. And so you bring him to the second unit, and that gives you different flexibility. And then you can interchange him depending on flow and pace of the game and time of the game. So the Knicks, with no pressure on their shoulders, and that place is going to be crazy tonight, absolutely crazy. And it's going to be about that first 6 minutes or so of the game. Make sure you stay in the game. And Thibodeau knows this, and his whole staff knows this. They're going to look to curtail runs. Everybody knows basketball is a game of runs. 7-1, 9-2, 13-4, these types of runs. Limit those. They're going to be there. There's no way to stop it. The Pacers are too good as a team, and Halliburton at his position is too good. No one's, and by the way, I am not saying Tyrese Halliburton is not a terrific player. He's just not a superstar. Superstar, whole nother level. He's not there yet. He's trending. He's approaching, but he's got a lot to learn. And it's the mental, I think, part that he has to learn. So I'm going to go out on a limb here because I feel like I feel something, and I could be totally wrong. and I'll get the X daggers. I'll come out sharp as attack tomorrow for people who might see this, and I'll cut this clip, and this clip will be out there. I'm going to say the Knicks are going to win tonight with limited pressure on their shoulders and take this back to Madison Square Garden, where the pressure then goes on the Knicks to win. And then the Pacers will feel a little bit free. The ebbs and flows and the swings, right? Interesting stuff. I would rather have Brunson and Towns, and I'm not a huge Karl Anthony Towns guy, to be honest with you. He tends to take some nights off as well. I know he's battled through injuries. I'm not necessarily talking about this playoff run. I'm talking about historically. He tends to. He's not an every night guy. But everything, the chips are there, man. You are win and continue, or obviously lose and go home. Literally, right? You're gonna go home. You're gonna stay home, and you ain't playing again until next year. So I'm gonna say that the Knicks win a close one tonight by about 5 points. And even if they don't, I still think that this is going to be a competitive game all the way through. And as a coach in these moments, yeah, you saw OKC what they did to Minnesota, but the disparity between OKC and Minnesota is such that it was primed for that to happen. It could happen tonight, but it's unlikely because of the defensive capabilities, the coaching prowess of Tibbs, and the superstars that you have on the floor. Not that Anthony Edwards is not a superstar, but you have two guys that can do that. Julius Randle was very nice for Minnesota, but I'm going to take Brunson and Towns. And OG, again, I say him every single game when I give my pick and I put it up there. This guy is critical to the success tonight. He's that third solid guy who can knock down shots from all around the perimeter, and I expect him to have a big night tonight. So Knicks by 5 tonight, going back to Madison Square Garden, and we'll talk about that more leading up to that game. So that's that. All right, let's go to we'll skip that one right now. We'll go to the WNBA. I have been unbelievably outspoken about the WNBA. I have a lot of videos out there, lots about Caitlin Clark, lots about Angel Reese, and it's like somebody made a smart remark on X last night and said, "Oh, the viewership for the Indiana Fever game without Caitlin Clark was whatever 375,000 something some number. I don't remember the exact number, but it's the whatever sixth largest, and Caitlin Clark didn't play. So uh, I guess Caitlin Clark doesn't have to play." And the league will still succeed. And I jumped in there because I had an opinion, and I said, "This is going right over your head, buddy. Literally right over your head." The people will watch the WNBA even if she's not playing. In this particular instance, okay, she's not going to play. Where is she going to be? How is she acting? Is she going to be on the bench? Will she take a coaching capacity? And you saw the other night, the head coach says, "Get out of my seat." She was sitting in a head coach seat out of a timeout. Everyone is infatuated with what they see her doing on the court and off the court. So even without her playing, it's how are they going to do without her? It isn't so much the game. It isn't so about, oh my God, we got to tune into the WNBA to watch the Fever and whoever. It's she's not playing, and how will they do without her? That's it, folks. There's a reason that the league has been around for 27, 28 years and never turned a profit. And 6 teams folded and 5 teams relocated. And now it went from 12 teams to currently 13 teams, is scheduled to go to two more, expand to 15 next year, and potentially some other teams like Detroit looking to get a franchise back. The only reason that this is being entertained, the only reason people in any mass type of scale are watching is because of Caitlin Clark. Everyone's got to get this through their heads in some kind of way. You cannot argue the events of the most recent past, which is 25. It's actually it's not even a most recent past. It is a quarter century of proof that the game does not sell nationally. It doesn't. It's starting to now, and it's had incredible momentum. And the minute it has incredible momentum, she comes down with the injury and is projected to miss 2 to 3 weeks. That's pretty devastating for the league. Now, to make this clear, because there'll be some people that tear me up, and I have to make sure I don't say girls. There are plenty of ladies who are very talented in this league. There are 8 or 10 that are just absolutely terrific. Then there's a second tier and a third tier. Caitlin is for sure in the first tier. We can argue all day if she's the best in the league or she's in the top 3 or top 5. But she is the reason that publicity, PR, and eyeballs are coming to this game. What I don't understand, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's WNBA, NBA, baseball, a business. It does a salesperson. It doesn't matter. Someone's bringing legitimately, legally. Somebody's bringing eyeballs. Somebody's bringing attention. You would think that you would embrace that. You would think that you wouldn't resist that. You would say, "Come on in." And you know what? Where can I get another one of you and another one? And hey, let's make this a thing and then build the game out and build the credibility, the following, the viewership, the eyeballs, the money, the franchises, and actually have the next 10 years be profitable, let's just say, even the next year, this year. Okay? It baffles me the racism card that's being played and used by players. Like, just call it what it is. I can't stand talking about the topic because I don't see color in people. I don't judge people based on their color. I didn't coach as a when I was a former coach. I didn't coach a player or look at them in some sort of way in tryouts or whatever because one was white and one was black and one was Asian, and I've coached every ethnicity you can possibly imagine, basically. And I've had good players of all of those. It doesn't matter. I don't care who was there before. I don't care what the ratio is of black players versus white players versus European players. It's irrelevant. It's a team game. You know, the physicality of the WNBA is quite shocking, to be honest with you. It's like it almost seems like it's intentional. They certainly were intentional to Caitlin Clark. And again, this I don't care what color Caitlin Clark is. I really don't. What I care about is the ability of her as a player. And what everybody needs to wake up and realize is, I mean, there are not too many people in history that have had this much fame, this much attention, and by all accounts, from what we could see, not being behind the scenes every single second, not only is she a world class player, but she appears to be a world class person, teammate, citizen, all of those things. It is not easy. Not that I've ever been there, but I've studied it enough to understand that somebody who can't walk anywhere, that has no privacy, that has to have bodyguards, that has to watch where they can go, when they go, they can't fly a certain way, they can't go to a movie, shopping, a restaurant because there's just constant, we'll call it paparazzi. Everybody wants an autograph, everybody wants a picture, everybody's watching your every move. We all make mistakes. We're all human. We're all sinners, right? And she just continues to do it the right way. And I have a feeling, in my opinion, the feeling that I have is not only do some players envy her because of her ability on the court and what the WNBA is seeing now hasn't really existed. She's brought a new element to the game. Now, Sabrina, I always pronounce her name wrong. I ask you, and some other players can really shoot from distance, but Caitlin has brought something completely new. And the likability that she has, I think that intimidates some people. And I think the standard that Caitlin Clark has brought to the league means that others who are trying to be of that ilk need to conduct themselves in a similar way to be compared to them as much off the court as they desire to be on the court. That is my own personal opinion. I don't even know so much if it is the fact that she's white as it is the standard and the precedent that she is setting. The bar, the level is very, very high. It's very high. And you watch certain other players and the dumb stuff that they're saying, Angel Reese. I mean, this whole thing about somebody shouted out a racial slur, and it's like I got to bring attention to me for all the wrong reasons. It's been proven that it didn't happen. Complete egg on the face. Other players jumped in and said it. They were all black players. Why are you doing this? Stop. Stop. Angel Reese walks around and says we should be paid more money. Why in the world are you doing something that would jeopardize yourself from making more money if that's what you want? I'm not telling anybody to be easy on Caitlin Clark. Bust it up with her in terms of legitimately in the game, in the four lines. Go be as competitive as you can possibly be and look to win. But all the other nonsense and bouncing her around the court like she's a rag doll, and this animosity towards her because of the fame that she brings, and this attention that she brings, embrace that. Don't resist that. If you embrace it, you're going to be better for it. And it doesn't mean that you won't get yours, because I think we're seeing a lot of that. She's getting all hers. How do I get mine? How do I get mine? You know, that me athlete of the 2000s, will say, it's like, be one of her. Okay, try to be better than her, right? If you're competitive, you're going to want to, you're not just get yours, you want to be, if you have that in you, you want to be the best at what you do. And I just got to throw this in about the WNBA. If I see one more highlight of Angel Reese shooting three-pointers, it's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. You can go to my X feed, and I actually broke down some of her stuff and everything that she does wrong from a technical standpoint in shooting. These are things that you teach at the elementary, middle school level, high school level. And at her level, it's like, I don't even know how a coaching staff or even a fellow teammate could look at the way that she shoots the ball. Now, you could stand there, and I'm going off a little bit here, but I'm very passionate about this. If if you do not use the proper technique when you're standing still with nobody guarding you and the ball goes in, it makes you feel good. And then you cannot translate that into a game when somebody is defending you. And those, we'll call them faults, or poor technique, is preventing you from excelling at a higher level when you have opposition. That should be a wake up call. Now, if you are if you are a student of the game, and if you have a good coaching staff that has eyes on things, you would already look at the fact that her entire form and everything about her shot is broken. And the average height in the WNBA is 6 foot. She's 6'3", 165. Your 90% of your time spent working on the game should be in and around the vicinity of the paint, not out beyond the 3-point line. You want to spend 5% of your time working on your longer range, mid to longer range game, do that. And I think that it goes back to what I said before. She's trying to be somebody she's not. And she feels, in my opinion, if she makes shots out there, she will be recognized more and will gain more fandom. It's not a winning proposition. Not at this point in time, it's not. You are not a perimeter player. And from what I can tell, you are not going to be a perimeter player anytime soon at this level until somebody reworks your shot and your attitude changes, because that's a big part of it. If you look at her shot, and I don't have the video up here, but it's basically a set shot. She's jumping straight up and down like that. Very, not that she can't jump, but she's getting no elevation. She's getting no push. She has a low release. It's there's no hold of her follow through. There's no snapping of the wrist. There sometimes is limited rotation on the ball. When there's somebody in her face, the way she releases it, sometimes you can't even tell if she's right-handed or left-handed because of the way the ball releases out of her hands. She wears very, very long nails, which I don't even know how that's legal in the WNBA, to be honest. It's very, very dangerous. But anyone who's ever worked on shooting at all understands that the ball has to roll off your fingertips in a certain way. And if there are long nails that are affecting that ball from coming off the tips as they should, like, hello, look at the best shooters in the league. Look at their nails. Go ahead, do it. Can some of them do it? Yep, it can happen. But you will see that them long nails are not beneficial to a player. They work in a counter way in terms of, particularly from the outside, when you need proper rotation and proper delivery of the ball to the rim. Don't put anything in its way. You already have a defender. You're supposed to have a defender in your way. Another thing I've noticed about the WNBA, and they need to fix this up, is I see a lot of lack of defense, a lot like the NBA. And I do see a lot of players that are just able to shoot from long distance and generally are unguarded. And I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. Uh, and again, that's me talking through a coach's lens. This isn't a game of horse from the 3-point line. Let's see who could be most wide open and who could knock the shot down. That's not to say that there isn't some defensive ability out there, or that it's not happening in any game, or that there's an entire game, but there's enough out there that it's like, all right, guys, can we get this a little bit under control here and play a little bit of two-way basketball, not one-way basketball? That would be nice. We don't all have to be the female version of Luka Doncic that can't do anything and is a human pylon on defense, but could do everything offensively. It's like the well-rounded player concept is completely gone. And so the WNBA, just as a whole, it's very shocking to me that it almost feels like they're going to blow this. And that's what I had as the headline in the graphic. It feels like they have the opportunity of a lifetime here, and they're going to find a way to blow this. And, if anybody is responsible for 27 years of a league not being able to be profitable, you have to look at the WNBA first. You have to, it is a collection of business owners, and then there's a league, and then there's the Players Association, and it's like you're doing something wrong, and I think you're doing something wrong right now. Stop with the racial nonsense. Be careful with the sexualization, these runway type shoots that they're doing. And I know the NBA does it too, in fairness. What suits this guy got on, what crazy outfits that one got on. What's his name from Mac Hollins in the NFL doesn't wear shoes, and he comes in barefoot, and it's this big deal. Listen, this is not a boxing match where we're going to see the entrance to what song is playing. And I see Sophie Cunningham coming in lace with high heels. I mean, let's not make this a mockery. I understand what you're trying to do. I get it. You need to get eyeballs, but let the game operate some on its merit, please. All right, Red Wings. Steve Yzerman. Brendan Shanahan is now what we will say front office free agent. And I can't help but get this out of my mind, is like getting the band back together with Stevie and Shanny and leading the Red Wings to some better success. I mean, Yzerman's, and I think people forget this, and I went through this as a business owner, and it was just crushing what COVID did to businesses. And it's one of the reasons I think that LeBron's, to switch a gear here, partly because it's relative to the conversation, is the championship in the bubble, it doesn't count. And I know a lot of people have an issue with that, but you have people isolated away from their families. People are not able to leave a hotel. People are only able to eat certain food. Life changed for everybody. And it's like, I don't even think everybody's at their full capacity. People had sick family members, all kinds of things were going on. It's a 100-year event. And it's like they put them in a bubble. And I understand, why they put them in a bubble. The whole COVID experiment topic for a different day in a different way. But as it relates to Steve Yzerman, and when he came in, he started in the 1920 season, 2019-2020 season, and the season was shortened big time. And then 20 and 21 shortened also. That's when he started. So you want to talk about getting a late start to something? I don't think he gets enough, space or of a pass for that. The very first 2 years. So let's look at basically a 4-year run here. The 2020, the 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, and last year's 24-25. So first year, 74 points. Year two, 80 points, 91 points in 23-24, 86, and 24-25. He's gone through three coaches. One he inherited in Blashill, and then Lalonde and McClellan now. So 80, 91, you peaked at 91 and 23-24, and then you drop back to 86 this past year. That's not good enough to win. You're not making the playoffs. That's obviously bad. Can Brendan Shanahan actually come in and give a different set of eyes and give a different set of core leadership? Not that Stevie's not capable. Obviously, he's capable. One of the greatest players of all time, did freaking historic stuff in Tampa Bay and a Florida-based team, and basically the first to do that with a Florida-based team. Now you obviously have the Florida Panthers that are there every year and have won a cup and on the verge again. What a series that's going to be with them in Edmonton. but you can't take away what he's done with what he did with the Lightning. And now it's like there just seems to be a little something missing with the Red Wings. And I can't help but feel that Shanny's leadership and another guy to talk to, another guy to bounce things off of, and just kind of put the brain work together can, I think, really help them. So there hasn't been much talk about that, and I'm kind of surprised by that, if I'm being honest. And Shanny's loved in Detroit, and obviously long history there in Detroit, close with Yzerman. By all accounts, they have a great relationship. Shanny's been very successful at what he's done. 11 years, I think he was with the Maple Leafs, and after a while, some things just need a change, and everyone is hired to be fired at some point, particularly in the sports world. There is an end to everybody's job. There's very few Mike Tomlins and Chuck Knoxes in the way that the Steelers do it, or even say a Belichick. But even that had an end. Uh, Phil Jackson had an end, and with the Lakers and with the Bulls. So I like that idea, and I hope Stevie's considering that, and I can't see in any way that that can hurt. Different perspective, more stability. I think that that could be very very beneficial, and I hope to see them um, reunite, get the band back together, so to say. All right, Detroit sports fans. So I've got Stevie up there in the picture. Uh, Damn. Let me see. Let me just get this. Let me pull this up here real quick. Bear with me one moment. I don't know why I didn't load this earlier, but I should be able to load it now. Um, I had talk here while I do this. I had Scooble, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Cade Cunningham, Stevie Yzerman as the most influential VIPs, uh, most influential VIPs, say of in Detroit sports. So yeah, Scooble, Goff, Kate Cunningham, Stevie Yzerman, Dan Campbell, and Dylan Larkin. So let me go to. We'll start with Scooble. I just want to touch on each of these guys because I think that in some way, in one way or another, they're all worthy. Scooble, obviously Cy Young Award winner, 9-5. We're witnessing history right now with what this guy can do. What he did 2 starts or 3 starts ago is just simply remarkable. 19-5 Cy Young, coming off of 18-4 the year before, so you can clearly see that he's at the top of his game, at the top of Major League Baseball. Uh, Pitcher, left-handed pitcher, just guy's dynamite. Prior to that, because this is his 6th year, which surprised me a little bit. When you really look at things in detail like this, you kind of lose track of how many years it's been. Prior to that, in order: 7-3, 7-8, 8-12. So 8-12 to 7-8 to 7-3 to 18-4 to 19-5. And I think he's 5-2 right now, 5-2 or 6-2. And he's pitching maybe at equal or a higher level than he did last year with the Cy Young. So I think there's more to come with this. I think we're witness to history, and I tell people this all the time. Again, as a lifelong Michigan resident, obviously Detroit. I actually grew up in Detroit, south of 8 Mile, first 19 years, 19 and a half years of my life. Barry Sanders, I think we took for granted what we were watching. And I think he ended up being missed more after he retired because of two things. Number one, you kind of get spoiled when somebody's that good. You don't appreciate it enough. And just like other things in life, maybe a spouse or a significant other, sometimes we don't appreciate something until it's gone. And so enjoy this with Scooble. He's, I believe, 28. I want to say off the top of my head, 28, and what he's doing is special. You're ending the game of a complete game, and you're striking the last guy out at 102 or 103. That's at 94 pitches. That's ridiculous. That is more than next level stuff. That's he's not a Hall of Famer. Again, the same as I talked about with Halliburton and Brunson. There's star, there's superstar, and then there's Hall of Fame. Three totally different tiers. He's not there yet, but he's certainly pacing. I see a lot of Justin Verlander in him. He's got an instinct about him that I'm saying that I said earlier about Tyrese Halliburton, that killer instinct that I'm going to own you and I'm going to do it every single game. And I expect to win before I ever take the mound. And I expect to go a complete game, 10, 12 strikeouts and keep opponent batting. All those numbers, he has that. So a very worthy candidate. Now, this one here is it really, really surprised me too as I dug into some of the numbers. Jared Goff has been 4 years with the Lions. 12,220 passing yards, 96 touchdowns, and 39 interceptions. It's almost a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And in 4 years, that's a little over 3,000 yards a season, though that has increased over the last 2 seasons on this run that they're on. He has averaged in his 4 years, and I don't even know if anyone recognizes this, 100 passer rating in these 4 years with the Lions. And in these 4 years, you had two super successful years, a 12-5 and 15 well, 15-3. It ended up being 15-2 regular season. And you did this on the upswing. It isn't like he came in and he did this with a loaded team from day one. It wasn't. It needed to get that. Now it's loaded, and now he really should start producing the numbers. But that's pretty incredible in your first 4 years with the Lions, and you have a 100 passer rating. So he's a worthy guy to give this to. Cade Cunningham, up and comer. A lot of people say he's in the top 10. I'm pissed at Cade Cunningham, to be honest with you. Full disclosure again, I hated when they took him out of Oklahoma State, just be honest, and I retracted that later because Cade really developed. Why didn't I like Cade Cunningham coming out of Oklahoma State? I felt he floated a lot at Oklahoma State. I felt he just thought that the game would always come to him, and there we go again with that lack of aggression and that killer instinct, and I'm going to go get it. I felt that was missing. I remember where I was when it happened. I remember who I was talking to when it happened, and we agreed that was a horrible pick. Now, it's proved that I was wrong in that, but what I saw him do in the final game against the Knicks when he was playing what I call deferral basketball, meaning I'm not looking to score. I'm not looking to take the team over. I'm looking to get somebody else involved, and because somebody's in my face or I'm getting undue pressure, I'm going to give up the ball. So I think he's a ways away from being that true superstar type level. I think he's a star. He's not superstar. He's just not, and that has to change for the Pistons to really get to the next level. And you can see some of the limitations he has in the half court offense when the ball is in his hands and he needs to get a bucket by whatever means necessary, whether that's putting it on the floor, right hand, left hand, powering powering up an and one type of thing, coming off a screen, whatever it is. There's still some things there, but very worthy guy for the consideration. Steve Yzerman. I mean, oh my God, what one of the greatest players of my lifetime as a Detroit fan year after year. And it was they were going to trade him, and he's not worthy of a captaincy. And then Bowman came, and they had this perfect symmetry. And then 3 cups later, he's one of the greatest players of all time. So certainly as a player, he has it. Um, the and I talked about this with the Shanny situation. Obviously, what he did in Tampa Bay, it's still jury's out on what he's done as an executive in Detroit, but a super worthy guy, great leader, great person, the whole nine. Dan Campbell, this speaks for itself too. 4 years, the success of the Lions is several fold. Sheila Hamp Ford is a big reason. I still don't think she gets enough credit. She brought in a different style than what William Clay Ford had, what Martha Firestone had. Just a little bit different vision, and she made good decisions to put football people around Spielman and others. Brad Holmes, huge, one of the greatest general managers of our time. Do not sleep on Brad Holmes. He learned under one of the best in Les Snead. Tremendous there, and he obviously brought in Campbell, and Campbell had 2 stints as a interim head coach, was highly thought of. Sean Payton, big time proponent and supporter and referrer of Dan Campbell to be a head coach, and Dan has not disappointed. The last 2 years speak for themselves. They're tracking again, despite the gauntlet of the schedule. And by the way, um, on YouTube, you can see how I broke down the entire Lions season. I put them at 13-4, worst case 12-5 against the third toughest schedule in the NFL. Just next otherworldly type of schedule, but they embrace them. He came out yesterday and he said, "We love that. Can't wait. Look forward to it." And I did this video, I think 10 days or 2 weeks ago. And I said that very thing. They won't shy from it. Perfect team to take that on. They won't fold up. They won't go run home crying. They welcome that, and that's how you get better. And if you have the right mentality at the top and all the way down, you don't want to play a weak schedule and say, "Oh, let's we're going to go roll over." No, that's not a winning organization. It's not a winning team. You want to play the best. I did that as a coach, where I would totally schedule non-league games of the greatest competition that was out there that we wouldn't be playing on our schedule. I did it religiously. The Tom Izzo effect. Go schedule North Carolina, Kentucky. Go schedule all Duke. Go schedule all those teams and make your team be used to playing at the highest level when it matters most, so that if it is in March Madness time, if it's in the playoffs and football, whatever the case may be, you want to be tested by the best so that when you get there, you're prepared. It's almost like the battle or the war is fought before it ever started, or the war is won before it ever started. And so I think that he's the perfect guy for that, and he's been the perfect guy for 4 years, and hopefully he's there for the next 10. And again, just a reminder, my big mouth opened when Dan Campbell took over. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell took over. Not the "I'm going to bite your kneecaps" comment, but when a reporter asked, "What do you think? What's your thoughts about the SOL, the same old Lions around here?" And he said, "I don't want to ever hear that shit again." That's when I knew. I already knew about his history, but that's when I knew this is a guy I was going to back. And I said within 5 years they would be in the Super Bowl. This is it. My time's up this year. We'll see what happens. And then the last guy I had on the list, and this shocked the hell out of me, Dylan Larkin, Red Wings captain, 10 years. Guy's already played. He's 28. 18 is when he started. Obviously, that's a normal age, 18, 19, not normal, but it's not an uncommon age for a hockey player to start. But 10 years already, 576 career points, 530-goal seasons. Um, by all accounts, a great guy, great leader, great teammate, terrific talent, the whole nine. I wouldn't say he's, top 5 or even top 10 in the league, but he's certainly up there, and he's a worthy guy. So Tarek Skubal, Jared Goff, Cade Cunningham, Steve Yzerman, Dan Campbell, and Dylan Larkin is who I had as who would I choose from to be the most influential, um, the most popular, the most whatever you want to, however you want to define it, the number one sports figure, we'll say, in Detroit. A lot of people are on the golf wagon. A lot of people are on the scuba wagon. You've heard some. Cade, for me, I have to go with Dan Campbell. Football is king. It will always be king. Now you might say, well, if football is king, why not Jared Goff? Look what you just listed out for the guy. A lot of what Jared Goff is doing is Jared Goff, but a lot of what Jared Goff is doing is system oriented too. It's no knock on him. He's been terrific, continues to be terrific. He continues to get better. It isn't Ben Johnson, all Ben Johnson. It isn't all Dan Campbell. It isn't all Amon St. Brown. It's Dan Campbell's whole entire approach, and taking an organization from the gutter for 50, 60 years with maybe 2 bursts, 91, the run and shoot Lions, and one other time uh, in my lifetime. Well, I'm 52, going to be 53 next month, or actually, yeah, June is tomorrow. So next month, it was basically the most lackluster franchise in history. And what that reporter asked about was somebody that needed to come in and change the whole attitude, change the whole culture. That wasn't going to be Brad Holmes to do that. Brad Holmes is supplying the players. Brad Holmes is supplying the coach, but it's the coach who's bringing in the philosophy and implementing. He has help, and there's help above him. But every day, day in and day out, to reset, reboot, an entire franchise that is so hungry and so thirsty for a winner and cannot take the losing anymore and has seen so many Matt Millens and Marty Morningwigs and Rod Marinellis and Mike Martzes and Steve Mariucci's and Monty Clark's and Bobby Ross and Daryl Rogers. Have I covered them all? I don't even have that in front of me. That's just stuck. It's ingrained in the brain. I got the chills right now. I could just think of, Monty Clark's prayer and Bobby Ross, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I'm going to take the wind. Marty Morningwig and Matt Millen in Pennsylvania doing his wood shop while his team's going. It's like, ha! It's like, am I crazy? What am I missing here? Why can't they get it right? And so you cannot. There is nothing, literally nothing, and every team in Detroit of the four major sports has won at the highest level, except for the Lions. The Red Wings have cups. The Tigers, we're talking 84, but they have a world championship. And the Pistons have plenty. The last championship for the Detroit Lions was pre-Super Bowl in the Chuck Schmidt days. There will be no effect on the city of Detroit quite like a Lions not just in the Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl. It is the biggest, it's one of the biggest things going in sports to watch this turnaround. So while I have a list here of guys that are very deserving and certainly in the conversation, you just can't. I just don't think you can take it, not give it to Dan Campbell. I mean, the dude is literally, and Jared Goff is, so you have your head coach and your quarterback are basically tied at the hip, right? Sean Salisbury, who I just connected with, maybe you're watching this. I'm sure he can attest to this. It's, there is no other relationship like it in sports. You could say goaltender, you could say captain on any team, but quarterback, head coach, the connection between the two has to be superior. It has to be the number one thing. It's the most important position on the, in all of sports, not just in football. There's only 32 of them in the league, and I said it a week ago or 2 weeks ago. The quarterback position is one of the most important jobs in the world because there's only 32 of them, and you have basically a 5 to 8 to $10 billion franchise on your shoulders. And what it takes to operate a franchise is just remarkable. And so Jared Goff, he's right there, man. I would basically put him at number 2 on this list as most biggest importance to the city of Detroit in terms of a sports perspective. Basically a close second, but I can't give it to anybody else but Dan Campbell. All right. One of the other topics I had was I put top 10 most improved teams. Um, but instead of improved is just basically who I think that everyone needs to watch because they're just that much better now than they were then. So the Lions are my number one team. They will always be my number one team. That's not going to change. I now live in Florida. I haven't embraced any one of the three, the Dolphins, the Jags, or the Bucks. But for number 2 for me as my most favorite team, and that changed when Tom Brady went there, is the Raiders. And if you watch any of my past, you've heard of me talk about this very often. I believe, let me just say this again. I believe that what Tom Brady is doing with the Raiders is a lot like that's at an executive or a minority ownership standpoint. But what Tom Brady has done with the Raiders in his role similar to what Dan Campbell has done with the Lions in his role. He's completely remade the culture. He's completely remade the philosophy. It's only going to be done a certain way. Mark Davis, basically, even though he's a minority owner, even Willie McGinnis is a minority owner now, Brady's old teammate. It has his stamp on everything. Everything is running through Tom Brady. Until somebody gets me on the screen and tells me otherwise and proves it to me, I won't believe it. He's a part of everything. Spytech coming there was the GM over or assistant GM over at Tampa Bay. That's a Brady move. Pete Carroll to come in to be the bridge for the next 3 or 4 years. He's 73, 74. He isn't the long-term guy, but he brings the franchise back to respectability. You go get Geno Smith. That's a connection with Pete Carroll, but that's signed off on by Tom Brady. Geno Smith's 34 years old. You just paid him $40 million. That's no joke. You had the sixth pick, overall sixth pick in the first round, where you could have considered drafting a quarterback. Brady knew what was coming out, and he did not want to make his first round draft pick be a quarterback when he didn't need to do it. So you have Carroll and you have Geno Smith, our great bridge to get the next guy to replace them ready. Basically, a 3-4 year window to do that, but you instantly go to respectability and credibility of a newer franchise by doing so. And Ashton Giante, Brock Bowers, Geno Smith, um, back from TCU. Don't even sleep on him. Dude is a player. Jacoby Myers. But now you have a competent quarterback to get the ball to everywhere you need to. They've brought in parts. Giante's a terrific player. I still think Travion Henderson from Ohio State, it could be equal or better than him. I was on record of saying that. I wanted the Raiders not to take Giante. I actually wanted them to take Mason Graham and circle in the second round and get Travion Henderson. Graham was actually gone by that time, so it didn't matter. Um, but they got Giante, and dude's a baller, dude. He could do everything. And you went from inconsistent in the backfield and inconsistent in the quarterback position to holy shit, Geno Smith is better than most people think. He isn't the best in the league. He's not even in the top 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks in the league, but he's around 10. And you got 10 versus taking a draft pick that you don't know what you can happen. It's about winning now. It's about being competitive now and then build for the future. So the Raiders are absolutely the number one team to watch. That is going to be this Titanic type of moment on the scene in the NFL. And I've said this a million times. Folks, this is going to happen in Las Vegas. Las Vegas historically has been a tourism town. It hasn't been a sports town. And obviously, the Raiders pretty brand new there. The Knights, but it's hockey. It's not a global game. It's global in the sense of Canada, but it's not global in the sense of hey, they go play in Mexico, they play in Europe, they play in these different places, and you have everyone coming from around the world to be a tourist, and now you can come see a product like the Raiders. That's huge. And I think it's going to bring in a massive basketball town. I'm still convinced it's going to be the Dallas Mavericks at some point because of the Adelson family and the Venetian. And I think Las Vegas becomes a really solid sports town, not just a tourist destination. And free agents will want to come there. And Brady is at the helm of this. So enough of the Raiders and my love for the Raiders and Brady and what they're doing. So as the Raiders, Vikings absolutely is a close number two. JJ McCarthy last year, not this draft, obviously last year's draft. I had Jaden Daniels at 1, and I had JJ McCarthy at 1A. Obviously, he blew his knee out, so we never had a chance to see it. And I said it then, and I say it now. He had success at Michigan, but he wasn't asked to do it all at Michigan. In other words, he was harnessed to a degree because of the style that the offense was. Now, when you have those type of weapons in Minnesota with Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones, Hawkinson, and others, expect them to take a huge leap. It's he's a rookie and he's coming off an injury, never even playing at the NFL level, but he's already, in my opinion, an upgrade from Sam Darnold. I know that might sound crazy. Sam Darnold's not a world beater, and if there was ever a quarterback that was a product of the system, it was Sam Darnold. Now, watch what he goes and does in Seattle now. You will see a huge drop off, just like with the Jets, just like with Carolina, just like with the other teams that didn't have all the weapons. Now you could say that about any guy, but Sam Darnold doesn't have the X factor to make everyone around him better. JJ McCarthy, I think, has the ability to do that. He's got intangibles that not everybody has. Smaller guy, looks like a 12-year-old, to be honest. Um, I made a wisecrack the other day. He announced that his wife was pregnant, and I said, "So that's what the guy was doing for the last year while he was laid up." Nice. So it's the Raiders, and then it's the Vikings. The Bears, as much as it pains me to say this, because Ben Johnson, I just think has made an ass of himself since he left the Lions. His attitude, his arrogance, things he said, calling out teams is like, bro, you never even coached an NFL game in your life. Simmer down there a little bit, and and go prove it first before you start talking anything. And even when you prove it, you probably shouldn't be pounding your chest and giving other teams uh, back to the billboard material type of stuff to come out and lambaste your team. And I said it last year when I said Jaden Daniels was number one and far above Caleb Williams. I really haven't changed that, folks. And the news we heard out of him about him this past week, I thought was not shocking, but shocking in a way. And I'm not sold that whatever Ben Johnson delivers, that Caleb Williams can go ahead and execute that. He's certainly talented. He certainly has ability. They have a lot of weapons there, but I'm not convinced that is going to be a full blown marriage. We'll see. I think that the Jaguars are going to be. That's a really interesting situation. Your head coach is 39. Your first time GM, I think he's what, 32? Maybe he's 33. 32, and you come in on draft day and you make a trade like that, and you go get Travis Hunter. That's like, whoa, that takes some stones, and it's like that's bold. And the Jaguars, my gosh, they can't get it right. 5 years, 6 years, the last 5, 6, 8 years. How many coaches? And now another one. And it's like you got to get somebody in there, and they've got some talent on that team, and now they have more talent on that team. So I would expect them to be a team to watch. The Falcons, Michael Penix, and he's got lots of weapons. Drake London and obviously Robinson in the backfield. We'll see if Kyle Pitts ever ends up being a damn thing. But they've got players over there, and Penix can spin the ball with the best of them. He's got a lot of great experience at the college level. He was able to, and I agree with what they did last year and bringing him in and sitting Cousins and gave him a chance to get real game experience at the highest level. And now he's that much further along for this year, and now a lot more talent around him. I said five, but I got to say six. Or I got to say six teams is the Giants and what they've done. Abdul Carter's is a I don't even know what to call him. He's another Micah Parsons in the LT mold, and it's just crazy that he's with the Giants. And then what I was on record as saying, Jaden Daniels was in 2024 was going to be the best quarterback out of the draft. That actually kind of helped put me on the map a little bit with some of my predictions in the show. And then I went way out on the limb. It's all over social. It's all over my YouTube page. It's all over X. Is that Jackson Dart is going to be the best quarterback that comes out of this draft. It will not be Cam Ward. It's not going to be Shedeur Sanders. It's not going to be any of the other guys. And I really thought I had him tabbed for New Orleans at 9 and the Derek Carr thing. And by the way, on Derek Carr, do not be surprised if he resurfaces. I have a feeling. I don't have factual information on this, but I think you can add up the parts here and connect the dots a little bit. I think it was more to do with retiring, or retiring was more to do with the Saints made a decision to go in a different direction. Even though they signed him, I think they felt that they made a mistake, and I think that rubbed Carr the wrong way, and I think it was convenient to step away, but I wouldn't rule out a return. I still think the guy has some ability, and in the right situation, I think he could be really effective. And so that'll be interesting to watch. But I thought that the Saints would take Dart at number 9, and they didn't. And for the Giants to get him, move up to get him, incredible move. Dude can do it all. He did it all too against SEC competition under Lane Kiffin. He's got that killer instinct. He's got that warrior mentality. He's got that I can't fail. And when he fails, or when he doesn't succeed, or when he struggles, it wrecks him. Like, he takes it personal. Now that can hurt you, but you want somebody that cares so much, because if you care so much, which you really can't teach, is that person's going to be committed. First one in, last one to leave, extra film study, extra after work practice, all the extra stuff that makes one of 32 positions in the world. As I described earlier, there is no bigger position in sports. Basically, you could say that is one of the most important roles in the world in any field. And I think Jackson Dart has all of that. And with the combination of, while I wasn't totally sold on bringing Brian Daboll back, it kind of looks like a smart move right now, in that the cohesion should be there, and it appears that there's a real connection with Jackson Dart and him. Dart came out, well, first of all, Shedeur Sanders, when he went for his interview, Brian Dable, it's basically pretty much been confirmed that he gave a playbook. And then when Shedeur came back, I think it was, they took something out or put something in, and he wasn't prepared for it and questioned why you would do such a thing. And then Dart was asked something similar, and he said, Brian Dable's no joke, and you better be prepared. And if you're not, and it's like, yeah. And Shedeur Sanders wasn't prepared because he thought he was the best, and he's not. And you could see, I mean, I've been nothing more outspoken about than that. Is Jackson Dart is the complete opposite, and he's made for that moment. And I think he's made a little bit with some of the moxie that he has. He's made for what's very hard to do is succeed playing in New York, whether you're with the Jets or you're with the Giants, the Knicks. It doesn't matter. It's not the easiest place to play. But so Vikings, Raiders, Bears, Jags, Falcons, Giants. Those are all the teams to watch as far as most improved and the burst onto the scene and big time. Few messes here real quickly. The 49ers are a mess. And I was a huge John Lynch supporter, and maybe I screwed up with that. I mean, they had their moments and they had a nice run there, but that team is in that's a mess. And Kyle Shanahan wasn't a fan of his before coming to the Niners, but then coming to the Niners, I was like, all right, this is a great marriage. General manager, coach, much like coach and quarterback. The Brock Purdy story is nice, but they've lost so many guys, and it's like the Trey Lance decision, which is still hurting them to this day. It was second, third overall, whatever it was. You made that mistake. You gave up picks. It's like that kind of stuff can get you for 5 years, 10 years, and I think they're still feeling that. So they're a mess. The Browns, going back to Myles Garrett and dudes in Tokyo looking for a place to live with some girl, um, and he's not at OTAs. That speaks for itself. That's I think that's probably the worst franchise. Not the fans, Brown fans. Feel for you. Know what you're feeling. Jimmy Haslam is not a good so far. He's not a good owner. Historically, a great businessman. Love his gas stations. What he did with them, but just the Browns is a mess, and I don't see that. I think Dylan Gabriel's your quarterback there. I think that's your week one guy, barring injury. But it would not shock me if the Browns screw that up. The Dolphins, Mike McDaniel is not head coaching material. He is a coordinator at best, and dude just seems to get in his own way, overthinks things. The Steelers, I just think the Mike Tomlin experience. I got a lot of respect for what Mike Tomlin has done as a coach. He's one of the guys that I kind of looked up to and modeled in what my coaching was, even though it was in a different sport. There's a lot you can learn from other coaches, and Mike is just a terrific guy that way. But being the team that wins the most 10-win seasons, that doesn't mean anything. He's in his 17th, 18th year. It's about getting into the playoffs, make a deep run, and be a legitimate contender. You're not. You're not even close. And if you get Aaron Rodgers, you're not even close. Oh, okay, you got DJ Metcalf. So what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have holes all over the field, and you'll be lucky to win 10 games again. And if you do, which is unlikely, especially if you don't have Rodgers, what are you going to do? You're going to get bounced by better teams. You're not even in the top 15. And the TJ Watt experiment, talk about appreciating something while it's there, but missing it when it's gone. I mean, it's one of the best players that we have seen in the last 15 years. It's like feels like it's getting wasted. So the Steelers are definitely up there. And then the Bengals, the Bengals, because you could always say there was the Bengals, which is a form of a lion, and the Lions would historically do things bad. Mike Brown has not been a great owner over the years, has not had the success that he should have had. And I don't agree with what they did with Burrow. I know why they did it, but I don't think it was a great football move to tie up 126 million of your 296 or 86 million dollar cap with Burrow and Chase and Higgins. And you're not signing a guy like Henderson, and the weakest part of your team is defense, but you allocate 40% of your salary cap and 3 guys, which means you've affected your depth across the board, across the entire roster. That's mind-boggling to me. I don't totally get that. And so the Bengals, I believe, are in a mess. So 49ers, Browns, Dolphins, Steelers, and Bengals set up set up to disappoint, I believe. All right, podcast collaboration. Journalists I've connected with a lot, podcasters I've been connecting with a lot recently. Even Sean Salisbury, again, shout out to Sean and what he's doing on Rumble. Maybe I can get Sean and I to do something, and some other people around the country. Definitely open to conversation. Love to see if it's a fit. Um, maybe you're a journalist and you have a story. Maybe you are a former player and have a story. I had one of my former players on 2 weeks ago, which was great. A two-time All-State player, looking to do more of that. Uh, e- Even if you were played sports at whatever the level, and you have an interesting story that can that can present, excuse me, uh, good value and content and information for our viewers, and the viewership is growing for PP Sports, and I'm really excited about that. I put a lot of effort into this. Is not easy to do. Anyone who does it, I mean, and who's done it a whole lot longer than me, this is not my background. My 35 years as an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of speaking in my life, but this is about a year that I've done this, and it was kind of shelved for a minute there, only on week 35 here of the actual show. This is not easy to do. And so, love to help somebody else, and together we can collaborate and make something better. Mainstream media is basically dead. The ESPN brand is basically dead. These guys can't get out of their own way. It's about independent media now. It's about those who have a voice with in podcasting that present a different perspective and a more unique view that's not controlled by some mandate or some narrative. And so I'd love to see how we can collaborate and just create uh, scenarios and content and perhaps shows or segments that the fans out there would love to see. 35 years as an entrepreneur for me, seven-time championship basketball coach in the past. I operated the largest independent camp. And let me just pop that up. Actually, I almost forgot. I have that here. This is my camp in 2015. And that tall guy next to me, for those of you who don't know, that's Tim McCormick, former first round pick, number 12 overall, I believe, to the Houston Rockets back in the 80s. Came out and spoke to the camp. There's over 100 uh, participants there. Yes, that is me shooting the ball there. Uh, 8 to 10 weeks or months, excuse me, 8 to 10 months after that, you could see my Lifetime documentary on YouTube there, um, where I was on life support, nearly lost. I was very sick at that time, and that morning I had a locked up back. I was sick health wise, but that morning I had a locked up back. I don't even know how I was even able to demonstrate that. And then speaking before the crowd there. Um, I have some range there as a coach, and been around a few things. Um, Here you can see it in the bottom left. 35 years as an entrepreneur, two businesses I've created of more than a million dollars in annual sales. Seven-time basketball coach. As I said, this is the live show every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then there at the bottom you see 2016. I had a heart attack, sepsis, thyroid storm, pneumonia, thyroidectomy, and on life support in the hospital for 3 weeks. It was about 4 months to recover, 3 to 4 months to recover. Had to basically learn how to walk again. And then for the next 3 years, I had a fear of not being able to breathe, which is when they ended up putting me on life support, as I no longer had the ability to breathe on my own. I had the oxygen tube through my nose. I said to my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, but my girlfriend was there. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They gave me one of the masks that you see on the sidelines of NFL games as an example. That wasn't working. Next moment, the lights went out, and I woke up about 3 days later, realized that I had something down my throat to help me breathe, and came back to long recovery, the whole nine. So have a unique perspective. And if you look at the D, the R, the E, the A, the M, the S, obviously spells dreams. So how to mentally raise your game as a young player. And I'll just talk about this here. I have PB Mentors. You see it in the upper left-hand corner. That is a side-by-side division of the PB brands. So I have the mentorship aspect where I can talk to players and coaches and help them get over the hump. Had some great experience in taking a franchise that hadn't won, or not a franchise, but a school that hadn't won in 12 years, and went to its state championship. Very fortunate to have some great people around me and some great players over the years. Won a lot, And I have something to offer in terms of that for players. And as much as the physical aspect and the talent and the ability is part of it, the mental aspect of it is often overlooked. There's a lot of people that have a lot of talent, and the component that's missing a lot of times is how to process everything. And so that was one of the things that I really had working for me as a coach. Obviously, I played the game. I had some success as a player, mainly as a shooter, 3-point and free throw, 5-time free throw champion, 3-time 3-point champion. I was able to help out in that aspect, but it was the mental aspect. I thought that I could really get players from where they are to where they need to be, where they want to be. And so elevating the coaching level as well for coaches that are trying to get over the hump. Maybe it's just this one thing that I could say that might help deciding if you want to be an entrepreneur. Sports, business, and life, they all go hand in hand. How to be decisive and anticipate in business and in life. Obviously, in sports, that's critical. You got to anticipate where a player is going to be. Route runners will tell you this in football. Basketball players will tell you how to get off a screen, where the defender's going to be, how to hedge, and get to an open spot. Quarterbacks throw to an open spot, anticipate where the defender's going to be. All of that, the art of overcoming adversity, is part of sports, business, and life. And then separating yourself with execution. That's not just in business, that's in sports, that's in life. So many people have great ideas, so many people have talent, and there's a struggle a lot of times to get that to fully execute because life gets in the way. Our minds get in the way. I've made a ton of mistakes in my lifetime, and that's also part of that growth and development and the wisdom and the teaching, the coaching, the businesses. 52, 53 years now, I've developed that ability to be able to help others in combination with people that I've employed over the years and with people that I have coached over the years. It's in the hundreds, and I prided myself always on taking somebody from one point and getting them to the other. If I'm not developing people around me and I'm making it all about myself, then that's worthless. And so we see that a lot in sports. More now than ever, particularly at the youth levels, the middle school, the high school, AAU. What we are seeing is absolutely, not in all cases, and there are people out there that are doing a really good job, and there's not enough of them. People and coaches with the coaching, with the politics, and some of the challenges with the young people today. It's one of the things that drove me away from coaching. That we'll save that for a different day. But I can help people out there, and I have a unique story. I have a unique background. So I'd love it if you'd support PB Mentors. You can find me on Connect. You can schedule it down at the bottom there. You can see it. You can text and get an audio response back or a text back, $15. Video answer, you get a video response to a text question for $40. And these are not like one line. I'm going to dig into whatever that question is. I'm going to dig into whatever that video is. And then the third option here is a video call. You can book time with me one-on-one, and they're booked or scheduled to paid for in 15-minute increments. Okay. And it's 15 minutes minimum. It's $60 for every 15 minutes, which is obviously $240 over an hour. You can add time inside of the call if you want. If we've spent 15 minutes and we're really making progress and you want to go to 30 or 30 to 45 or 45 to an hour, we can do that. Have a lot to offer. And so, as it relates to fellow podcasters, journalists, broadcasters, Tim Brando's another legendary voice. I've connected with him recently. Hopefully, have him on the show at some point. Love to be able to create a mesh synergy on all of this and how this works. It's not so many guys out there I see, they just want to break down film. They want to break down film. They want to break down this angle. And that is all part of it. But the mental aspect of it and what we can bring and lend to the Myles Garretts of the world, like, what the hell you doing in Tokyo, man? Get your ass at the OTA. And if you're not at the OTA, which you're not required to be at, I get it. Don't be on social media making the story about you when you got guys over there trying to get stuff done. Your whole franchise, an organization that you're the captain of, and you just got a $205 million contract and you're in Tokyo. I mean, on social media talking about, hey, I need some help to find a house. Dude, Diggs, another one. Wake up. So I would love to talk about different situations. Perhaps you were on your journey as a player, you were on your journey as a coach. It's just content of valuable information, entertainment, and content to the public is what I strive for and what I'm trying to do. And I'd love some like-minded people. Hit me up at Paul at PB Sports Talk. That's the email that you can reach me on. You can find me on X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end. I do own at PB Sports Talk. I have to change some things around, but with the S on the end for now. On YouTube at PB Sports Talk, on Facebook at PB Sports Talk. You can find me and internally message me through all of those or at the email that I mentioned. Every Saturday is a live show. You can pop in with a comment, a question, feedback, anything you want live on the show. That's there. Again, every Saturday at 10 a.m. It live streams on all three. If you miss the actual direct and live recording, it's always there. The replay is available, and then I cut it up into different key elements that break down certain areas of what I've discussed, and just love to grow this and do this with some like-minded folks out there, and let's make something great. So been a great show. Everybody have a super awesome weekend. The Knicks and Pacers will be fun tonight. Again, I'm proposing the Knicks win this, take it back to Madison Square Gardens for game 7. Enjoy your weekend. Remember, one of the most important things in life that I try to subscribe to: hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Till we talk again, everybody have a great weekend and go Knicks. Bye-bye, everybody.